November 5th, 1995, Kensington Palace. Martin Bashir conducted the interview that would destroy Diana's marriage, the infamous Panorama interview, 23 million viewers. There were 3 of us in this marriage. But what people don't know is what came after the camera stopped. After the official interview ended, Diana kept talking for another 40 minutes, and what she said in those 40 minutes was never broadcast, never released, never acknowledged. The BBC claimed technical difficulties, tape malfunction, but the journalist who was there knows the truth. The palace made them erase it, because Diana had named names, and the people she named were still alive, still powerful, still dangerous. Sarah Mitchell was 28 years old in 1995, assistant producer on the Panorama team. It was her job to manage the tapes, archive the footage, make sure everything was properly stored. She'd been thrilled about the Diana interview, the biggest get in British journalism. Princess of Wales speaking candidly about her marriage, about Charles, about Camilla, about the palace. Sarah had helped set up the cameras that evening, had watched from the control room as Diana spoke, had seen the princess transform from nervous to powerful, from victim to truth-teller. The official interview lasted 55 minutes, everything people remember, everything that made headlines. The affairs, the bulimia, the 3 people in the marriage. Diana's admission that she didn't think Charles should be king. Explosive, devastating, historic. But then something unexpected happened. Martin Bashir thanked Diana, said they had everything they needed. The camera crew started packing up, and Diana said, "Wait, there's more. Things I need to say." Martin looked at the crew, looked at Sarah. "Keep rolling," he said quietly. So they did. Diana took a deep breath, steadied herself, and she started naming names. "I need people to understand something," Diana said. "This wasn't just Charles being unfair. This wasn't just a bad marriage. This was systematic. This was planned. This was coordinated." Martin leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "I mean there were people, specific people, who wanted me gone, who saw me as a problem to be solved, who actively worked to undermine me, to isolate me, to destroy me. And I have proof. I've been documenting everything for years." She pulled out a leather folder, thick with papers. "These are phone records showing my private calls were monitored. These are memos about my schedule being changed without my knowledge. These are copies of briefings given to journalists from inside the palace. Information only a handful of people could have known. Private details about my therapy sessions, my medical appointments, my conversations with my children. Someone was watching everything, reporting everything, and using it to destroy my credibility." Sarah watched from the control room, heart racing. This was different. This wasn't just marital. Complaints. This was accusation. This was explosive. "Can you give me names?" Martin asked carefully. Diana nodded. "I can. I will. People deserve to know." She started with palace staff, senior courtiers who had briefed against her to the press, who had leaked private information, who had sabotaged her schedule. She named them. Full names, positions, specific actions. Robert Fellows, my own brother-in-law, the Queen's private secretary. He authorized surveillance of my phone calls. He kept files on my movements. He reported everything to Charles, my own sister's husband, spying on me for years. Martin's eyes widened. "You're certain of this?" "I have proof," Diana said. "Documentation, records. I've been keeping copies of everything, because I knew someday I'd need to defend myself." She continued, named more people, members of Charles's staff who had actively worked against her, royal protection officers who had reported her private conversations, even members of the royal family who had participated. Princess Margaret told the press I was unstable. She called journalists directly, fed them stories about my mental health. She wanted me discredited, wanted me seen as unreliable, so when I spoke about Charles's affair, no one would believe me. Diana's voice was steady, controlled, but angry. And Prince Philip, he wrote me letters, cruel letters, telling me I was destroying the monarchy, telling me I should leave quietly, disappear. He suggested I move abroad, cut ties with William and Harry, just go away, stop being a problem. Sarah watched the tape counter. 41 minutes now. This was incredible. This was explosive beyond measure. This would destroy the royal family. Diana wasn't finished. There's something else. Something people need to know. About my security, about threats to my safety. Martin nodded. Go on. My protection was deliberately reduced. Multiple times. Despite increased threats. Despite credible danger. Someone wanted me vulnerable. Someone wanted me exposed. And when I complained, when I asked for help, I was told I was being paranoid. Hysterical. Irrational. She pulled out a folder. Documents. These are the threat assessments. Official police reports showing genuine danger, recommending increased protection, and these are the memos from the palace, overruling those recommendations, reducing my security, against police advice, against safety protocols. Someone decided I didn't deserve protection, or maybe someone decided I deserved to be vulnerable. Martin took the documents, looked through them. Sarah could see his hands shaking. This was bigger than an affair. This was conspiracy. This was the palace actively endangering Diana's life. Who made these decisions? Martin asked. Diana named 2 people, both still alive, both still powerful, both with direct access to the Queen. Sarah won't repeat those names, even now, even decades later, because what happened next taught her the cost of truth. The extended interview, ended at 9:47 p.m. The crew packed up. Diana thanked them. Martin took the documents Diana had provided, said he'd review everything, verify sources, be careful. Sarah drove back to BBC headquarters with the tapes. All of them, including the explosive 41 minutes. She labeled them, filed them, secured them in the archive. Then she went home, exhausted, exhilarated, terrified. She'd just witnessed history, real, dangerous history. The next morning, Sarah arrived at work early, wanted to start reviewing the footage, begin editing. But when she got to the archive room, something was wrong. The secure cabinet was open. The tapes were gone. Not missing, not misplaced. Gone. Completely. Along with all backup copies. Sarah panicked, called Martin, called her supervisor. No one seemed surprised. No one seemed concerned. Technical difficulties, her supervisor said calmly. The tapes were damaged, unusable. We'll work with what we have. But I secured them, Sarah protested. They were fine. Sometimes these things happen. We have the main interview. That's what matters. That's what we'll broadcast. Sarah realized then they'd been taken. Overnight. While she was gone. Someone with access. Someone with authority. Someone who knew exactly what Diana had said. She tried to fight it. Tried to demand answers. But within a week she was reassigned. Moved off the Panorama team, given a warning about discussing ongoing investigations, told to forget about the missing footage. The official interview aired on November 20th, 1995. 23 million people watched. It destroyed Diana's marriage, devastated the royal family. But it could have been so much worse. It should have been so much worse. Because 41 minutes of the most explosive content had been erased before anyone could see it. Sarah kept quiet for years, too frightened to speak. The people Diana had named were powerful, connected, dangerous. Sarah had a career to protect, a family to support, but staying silent was torture. Every time she saw a Diana documentary, she thought about the missing footage. Every anniversary of Diana's death, she remembered what had been erased. Every time someone said, "We know everything about Diana now," she wanted to scream, "You don't. You don't know anything." She tried to convince herself it didn't matter, that the truth Diana had shared in the broadcast was enough, that exposing Charles and Camilla was sufficient. But it wasn't, and she knew it. Because the real story wasn't the affair. The real story was the institution, the systematic abuse, the deliberate endangerment, the powerful people who had orchestrated Diana's destruction. Sarah started having nightmares. Diana's voice saying someone decided I didn't deserve protection. The open archive cabinet, the missing tapes, her supervisor's calm face. Sometimes these things happen. She knew what had happened. She'd always known. Someone powerful had ordered. Those tapes destroyed. Someone with access to BBC headquarters. Someone who knew exactly what Diana had said and couldn't allow it to become public. The question that haunted Sarah was, who? Who had that much power? That much reach? Who could make evidence disappear overnight from a secure BBC archive? But it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Because Diana had been right about everything. The surveillance, the sabotage, the reduced security, all of it true. All of it documented, and all of it erased to protect powerful people. When Diana died in 1997, Sarah thought about the tapes, about the missing footage, about what Diana had said. Someone decided I didn't deserve protection. Had they? Had someone deliberately made Diana vulnerable? Had the reduced security been part of something larger? Sarah would never know. The evidence was gone. Erased by people who didn't want questions asked. In 2020, 25 years after the interview, Sarah finally decided to speak. She gave an interview to a small documentary team. Not BBC, not mainstream media. People she trusted, people outside the system. She told them about the missing footage, about Diana's accusations, about the names, about the documents showing deliberately reduced security, and about how it all disappeared overnight. People think they know what Diana said that night, Sarah explained. They think the Panorama interview was the whole story. But it wasn't. It was maybe half the story. The safe half. The half that exposed Charles and Camilla, but not the half that exposed the institution. Not the half that showed systematic abuse. Not the half that named powerful people who are still alive. The interviewer asked if she remembered the specific names. Sarah paused, considered. I remember them. Of course I remember them, but I won't repeat them. Even now, even after all this time, because Diana died 2 years after naming those names. And I don't know if that's coincidence. I don't know if her reduced security was punishment. I don't know if someone decided she was too dangerous to live. But I know the evidence that might answer those questions was erased before anyone could see it, and I know that makes me complicit in covering it up. The documentary was released quietly in 2021. Few people watched it. Few people cared. The Diana story felt old, exhausted, overanalyzed, but some people noticed. Some people listened. And some people started asking questions about the missing tapes, about BBC's archive procedures, about who had access that night in November 1995. The BBC launched an internal investigation, found nothing, claimed the tapes had been damaged, technical malfunction, unfortunate but not suspicious. But the investigator never interviewed Sarah, never asked about the secure cabinet being open, never questioned how all copies disappeared simultaneously, because powerful people didn't want those questions asked, didn't want anyone looking too closely at what Diana had said, didn't want the names revealed even 25 years later. Sarah is 63 now, retired from journalism. She lives quietly, keeps to herself. But she thinks about Diana every August 31st, thinks about that night at Kensington Palace, about Diana's courage in naming her abusers, about the documents proving systematic endangerment, about 41 minutes of truth that the world never saw. I should have made copies, Sarah says quietly. I should have hidden a tape somewhere, sent it to someone, protected it from people who wanted it destroyed. But I was 28. I was scared. I was naive. I thought the truth mattered more than power. I thought journalism would protect the story. I was wrong about everything. She pauses, looks at the interviewer. Diana was right about everything. Every accusation, every name she gave, every crime she documented, all of it true, all of it provable, and all of it erased to protect people who deserved exposure. The interviewer asks if she has any regrets. Sarah laughs bitterly. Regrets? I have nothing but regrets. I regret not fighting harder to protect those tapes. I regret accepting the technical malfunction story. I regret staying silent for 25 years. But most of all, I regret that Diana died thinking no one would ever know the whole truth, thinking the people who abused her would never be exposed, thinking she'd named names for nothing. She looks directly at the camera. So I'm saying it now, even without the footage, even without the documents, even without proof. Diana named specific people that night, accused them of surveillance, sabotage, endangerment, and provided documentation supporting every claim. And it was all erased before the public could see it. Not because it was false, but because it was true. And the people she named are still alive, still powerful, still protected by the same institution that destroyed her. Sarah won't give the names. Still too frightened. Even now, even after everything, but she wants people to know they exist, That Diana's accusations were specific, detailed, documented. That the missing footage would have changed everything. That the story we know is incomplete. The truth about Diana's final interview isn't just what she said, it's what she said that we never heard. The 41 minutes that disappeared, the names that were erased, the evidence that vanished, the truth that powerful people couldn't allow. Diana sat in that chair and told everything, named everyone, documented everything, and someone decided the world couldn't know, couldn't see, couldn't judge. That's the real story of Diana's final interview, not what was broadcast, but what was erased to protect the people who destroyed her. And why, 25 years later, those people still can't be named. Because some truths are too dangerous, some names too powerful, some secrets too protected to ever see light. Diana learned that the hard way, and Sarah Mitchell learned it by watching her story disappear overnight. The tapes are gone, the documents are gone, the evidence is gone. But Sarah remembers, and she's telling anyone who'll listen. There was more to Diana's story, so much more, and someone made sure you'd never hear it.